Hi guys, it's me again. Lovely to see you again. Hope you were enjoying our end of the day book. We've got chapter 12 tonight. It's called We Fall into the Clutches of the Wicked Witch of the West. So let's see what happens, shall we? I'm afraid things get worse, my dear little puppies, before they get better. It's like that in real life as well as in stories. And of course this story is real life as well as a story. We thought the worst was over, the things could only get better now. And that's how it looked. We walked all day after day, always going westwards towards the setting sun, finding enough to eat and drink on the way. We had tired feet or paws, but it didn't matter. We were happy enough as we marched along. After all, we thought, we had overcome the worst the Wicked Witch of the West could do to us. Then one night I had another horrible dream. I saw in my dream the warty, wicked witch in her castle hall, shouting and screaming at her yellow, winky slaves. She was standing before them, hands on hips, a golden cap on her head. "You have failed me, you miserable slaves," she shrieked, "and now I have my magic golden cap on, which never fails me. Whoever owns this cap, and I own it, can command the terrible winged monkeys, but just 3 times. Once I commanded them, and they gave me you, my yellow winkies, my army of slaves, so that you could build me my yellow castle, so that I could rule over this country and make it mine. Then I commanded them to drive the great and terrible Wizard of Oz off far away to the Emerald City, so that his power could never harm me. And that they did. Now I shall speak the spell, and they will do my bidding for the 3rd and last time." She stood on her left foot and wriggled her right. "Ip-ip-pep-a-cacky," she cackled loudly. "Hello, hello, hello! Zizzy, zizzy, zick!" The sky darkened. Then lightning flashed, thunder roared, hailstones rained down. She looked up and pointed. "See my winky slaves, they come!" she shrieked, and out of the storm came a great rushing of wings. I thought at first in my dream that the sky above her must be full of ravens, cawing and chattering. Then all of a sudden the sun shone through, and all around the Wicked Witch I could see they were not ravens at all, but monkeys, flying monkeys. They sat around her now in the vaulted hall of her castle, a crowd of monkeys, huge monkeys with angry eyes and bared teeth. "You called?" The voice I heard seemed to come from everywhere, from all of them at the same time. "Remember, this is your last time, witch. What do you wish us to do?" "Go, winged monkeys, go to the strangers you will find sleeping out there in my country," shrieked the Wicked Witch of the West. "I command you to kill them for me, all except for the lion. He may be useful, at least he is strong. He can be my slave. He can be harnessed like a horse and pull a cart. The rest are useless to me. Destroy them! Destroy!" And at once the winged monkeys flapped their great wings, lifted off and flew out of the windows of the great hall, out over the ramparts and over the hills beyond, until they saw us lying there, curled up together on the ground, fast asleep. They were coming for us. I woke up then, woken by fear of them in my dream, by the wind of the wings and the chattering and the hissing of the monkeys. I wasn't sure whether I was still inside my dream or not, but Dorothy was screaming and clutching me to her. It wasn't a dream. Lion was roaring his angry and defiance, and the giant winged monkeys had already caught Scarecrow and were pulling the straw out of him, out of his clothes, out of his head. They made a bundle of his blue clothes and tossed them up into the top of a tree. Then they picked up Tin Woodman, flew him to a great height and dropped him down onto the rocks below, where he shattered into pieces. Nothing but a pile of twisted, dented bits of tin. They dropped a net over Lion and caught him, and then, lifting him up into the air, they flew him over the hills. "Oh, Toto!" cried Dorothy, her eyes full of tears. "Look what they've done! We've lost Scarecrow and Tin Woodman and Lion, and they were such good, kind friends." I wanted to comfort her, but I was as sad as she was. Besides, there was no time. The winged monkeys were coming for us now, landing all around us and closing in, closer and closer, chattering and hissing menacingly. Well, I wasn't having that, was I? They were attacking Dorothy. I went for them, snarling and snapping at their feet, at their wings, but they just ignored me and reached out their big, hairy arms to grab Dorothy. I thought they were going to tear her to pieces. Suddenly, though, the chattering stopped, the hissing too, and they backed away, bowing their heads. "We can't touch her," said the tallest and hairiest of the winged monkeys. "Look, see her red shoes, and see on her forehead the mark where the good witch of the north has kissed her. This child cannot be harmed." He looked down at me. I was still snapping at him. "Is this creature a friend of yours?" Dorothy nodded. "My best friend," she said, trying to hold back her tears. "My only friend in this world. You killed the others." "Then we shall not harm him." And before we knew it, the winged monkeys had picked us both up and gently cradled us in their arms, were flying us up through the clouds and over the hills towards a yellow castle in the distance. It all happened so fast, I had no time to be frightened. Soon we were landing on the ramparts of this great yellow castle, the one I had seen. "Lion!" cried Dorothy. "Thank goodness! At least Lion survived." The winged monkeys set us down, and Dorothy and me on our feet right in front of the Wicked Witch of the West. "We have done as you commanded us," said the leader of the winged monkeys. "The Tin Woodman and the Scarecrow we both destroyed." Hearing it said like that made me sadder still, Dorothy and me. But it made us angry too. "And the lion, as you see, is now your slave to do with as you please. But this girl has the kiss of the good witch on her forehead, and she wears the red shoes. We cannot harm her, even if we wanted to, which we don't. And the little bit bitey dog there is her best friend, so he also is protected. You have now used up your 3 commandments, witch, so we will do no more for you, and we are glad of it. No witch was ever wickeder than you." And without another word, all the winged monkeys rose into the clouds above and were gone. The Wicked Witch came up close to Dorothy to look in her face. She saw too the mark of the good witch's kiss on her forehead, and she saw the red shoes on her feet. I could see she was frightened, and that she was pretending not to be. Dorothy couldn't see it, but I could. Dogs have a sixth sense, don't we? I could see the Wicked Witch was already concocting some cunning plan. I could kill you, and I could kill your little dog too, the witch told Dorothy. But I've decided, in the kindness of my heart, that I won't. Instead, you will slave for me in the kitchen, do the washing up, scrub the floors. You will polish, fetch water, keep the fire going. You will do as I wish, or you and your little bitey dog will end up like the Tin Man and that Scarecrow out there on the hillside, all in little bitty bits and pieces. Dorothy didn't cry in front of the witch. She put a brave face on, but over the days that followed she cried quietly to herself as she slaved away for the Wicked Witch of the West, crying herself to sleep every night. Oh, Toto, how I wish I was back home with Auntie Em and Uncle Henry. She'd often tell me, poor Lion in his cage, and poor Scarecrow, and poor Tin Woodman. When I think what has happened to them, I am so unhappy, Toto. But I shall work ever so hard. Then the Wicked Witch will not harm you. To lose you as well would break my heart in two. I touched my nose against her cheek, so she knew I felt the same about her. We were well guarded all the time by those yellow winkies, the Wicked Witch's slaves. They weren't nasty to us exactly, but they weren't that kind to us either. They were always gruff with us and always so sad and miserable. And being yellow, I suppose, they smelt of custard too, which I didn't like much. I still don't. The Wicked Witch smelt strongly of vinegar, which suited her, because vinegar is the worst smell in all the world. If ever I barked at her, which I did because I hated her, the Wicked Witch would beat me with her umbrella. I managed to bite her more than once, but she did not bleed. All her blood had dried up long ago. She bled red dust. Not nice. She was so cruel. Time and again she would poke Lion through the bars of his cage with her umbrella because he refused to be harnessed like a horse, and would roar at her and tell her just what he thought of her. She starved him then, just to punish him. At night, when the Wicked Witch and all the Winkies were asleep, Dorothy and I would creep down into the courtyard to comfort him and to bring him food from the kitchen. We will get you out of here somehow, Lion, Dorothy told him. I'll find a way. And I knew she would too, somehow. But how? That was the question. I never saw Dorothy as unhappy as she was then. I did all I could to make her feel better. I never left her side all day, snuggled up close to her at night, touched her cheek with my cold, cold nose, licked her ear. I didn't really care where I was, in the Wicked Witch's castle, in the land of Oz, or back in Kansas. I just wanted her to be happy. And I knew she never would be, and neither would I, until we were home again. Dogs have a sixth sense, one more than people do. I sensed before Dorothy ever did what the Wicked Witch of the West was up to. I could see her eyeing Dorothy's red shoes, and I guessed why. Dorothy loved those shoes so much she never took them off, even in bed. Sometimes at night, when I was half awake, I could see the Wicked Witch stealing into our room and would growl at her, baring my teeth. She didn't like my teeth, not one bit, but I couldn't stay awake all the time. I tried to, but I couldn't. And early one morning, when Dorothy and I were still both fast asleep, she crept in, and before I could wake up and bite her, she had reached down and snatched one of the red shoes. "Aha!" she shrieked, waving the shoe triumphantly in the air. "Now you only have half of your power. I have the rest." And she danced around the room, cackling at us. Well, that was too much for me. I went after her. I bit her hand and her leg, her ankle, and that made her hopping mad. The Wicked Witch lashed out at me, then with her umbrella again and again, and that made Dorothy really angry. She leapt out of bed, shouting at her. First you kill the Tin Man and the Scarecrow and imprison my friend Lion. Then you make a slave of me. Then you steal one of my red shoes. And now you beat Toto. I have had enough. Not a great idea, Scarecrow had told her. Just a simple one. I haven't any brains, but I do have simple ideas from time to time. She was as angry as I'd ever seen her. She was looking around for something, anything she could use to fight off the Wicked Witch. Then I had an idea, which turned out to be a brilliant one, just about the best one I ever had. There was a bucket in the corner full of rainwater that leaked through the roof. I'd had a drink from it earlier. I ran towards it, nudged it with my nose, woofed and woofed till Dorothy looked. She knew what to do now. She grabbed the bucket and threw freezing cold water all over the witch. The witch was soaked through, dripping wet from her pointed hat to her pointed toes. She was capering all round the room, trying to brush the water off herself, and she was shaking the red slipper at us, cursing at us loudly, screeching and screaming. Then the strangest thing happened. The shrieking and the screaming became a wailing and a whimpering, and in front of our eyes, this cruel, wicked witch began to sob like a child, and then she began to shrink. "Oh, no!" she cried pitifully, sinking to the ground. "Water may be life for everyone else, but water is death to me. It is melting me away. It is the end of me, the end of all my powers, all my wickedness." Soon, all that was left of her was the red shoe lying on the floor in a puddle of water and a fading smell of vinegar. Dorothy picked up the red shoe and slipped it on. "Aunt Em said I should never lose my temper," she said. "But do you know, Toto, I'm very glad I did. Let's go. Let's rescue Lion from his cage, and then let's get out of here, back to the Wizard of Oz. Then home, Toto, home. Home is home, and home is best. Right, Toto?" It was so good to hear her say that again. "You're so doggone right," I woofed. I woofed it, and I woofed it. Wow. So, let's hope they are on their way home. I hope you've enjoyed that and you're looking forward to tomorrow's chapter. And I hope you had a really good day home learning today and that you are enjoying all the activities on offer. Okay, I'll see you again hopefully either the end of this week or next week. So until then, goodbye.